we're live. Welcome. Today, we are joined by a guest that Alex and I have been both very excited to see today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello there, Cam and friends. I am Theo from the Gallant Goblin. First of all, I want to thank you. The green room here in your studio is lovely. The fruit spread was really unnecessary. The mariachi band was just a step beyond. So thank you for all that. Like, you really make your guests feel welcome, so I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm from the Gallant Goblin. We dip our little goblin fingers into way too many pies. I think what we're primarily known for is reviewing minis and terrain, and all that kind of fun stuff over on our YouTube channel. We also write adventures. At Gen Con, we won our book that we contributed to, Uncaged Goddesses, won the Ennie Award for Best Adventure of the Year. So I never thought that I would be an Ennie Award-winning person, writer. So that's bizarre, and I should have my medal on because I usually never take it off, even when I shower. But I left it back in Houston at this point. So we write our own adventures from time to time for Pathfinder. We did Queer Finder for Pathfinder, and a couple of other things for D&D, and we're just having a good time, being creative, and trying to make a safe space in the community for everybody who wants to come and share their creative ideas and have a good time. So that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, and you also have a really great Kickstarter out right now, right? Or is that done?
Oh, that's a thing. No, the Kickstarters are technically done. That was another thing I should have grabbed out of my suitcase over there. Maybe I'll grab it in a minute if we take a break.
Sure.
We did a Kickstarter March. What year is it now? Where we launched our own brand called Hero Plush. We like cute things at the Gallant Goblin, and so we are turning traditional monsters into cute, cuddly heroes. We started off with kobolds. We have our kobold plushies, and they come in different colors. There's 7 of them, and each color is its own class. So, like, our red one is a wizard, and his name is Rory. He has a little fireball, and he's in my closet, and I'll go get him when we have a break. And then we have a blue one who is named Buckles, who's a little fighter. And you can switch and swap all their little gear. We recently got our samples of, like, our cleric pack and our barbarian pack and our druid pack. And so you can kind of swap out the fighter gear on Buckles and put on the, like, barbarian gear and make them all strong and, like, spiky and stuff like that. And I love them. I think they're cute. And so, yeah, those are over at koboldplush.com. And the pre-order is still open because we're just starting manufacturing now from the Kickstarter. We're trying to narrow down all the little details, like, do we want a little bit of Velcro here, a little bit of Velcro there? Is the hammer too big or too small? But we're almost done with all those little tiny details, and then they'll be in people's hands pretty soon.
I am a big fan of this purple Bard Kobold. I'm a big fan of Coda.
Yeah.
Coda is my baby. I love Coda. I need to try out all the, like, little druid and stuff packs on Coda, because she's the only one in a slightly different little pose. And so I want to make sure it all works really well on her, but I think there's no reason it shouldn't. But she's my baby. She's my baby. She's super cute.
Yeah, we're showing them.
I'm going to have to name a cat Coda.
Fair.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
I should go. Where are we streaming? I'm not even sure exactly where we're streaming.
We're streaming on both YouTube and Twitch.
Oh, sweet. I should say, like, I am a complete hot mess today. I was late getting to the stream here. I am currently, my home base is in Texas, but I'm currently in Georgia taking care of my mom who's in the hospital. And I was just at her room, and she was checked out of the hospital. She's in a nursing home now to get some rehabilitation, and I left with 20 minutes to go. I was like, Mom, I gotta go. I'm doing a thing for work. And I walked out, and I got all the way back here, and I realized I left my backpack with my computer in it in her room. So I had to rush back and get it. So I'm just back here sweating, sitting in my bed in this hotel room. So that's why I look like a hot mess instead of having a nice microphone like you all have there. And a nice backdrop.
We have the luxury of actually being home at the moment.
That is nice. Yeah, I haven't been home in a while. We had
you haven't,
traveling, and I'm going to a wedding next week, so it's just out in California. So one thing after another.
Yeah, I feel that. Next week I'm going to be in Norway visiting family.
Ooh, that'll be nice.
It's very exciting. It's going to be my fiance's first time out of the country, and it's going to be the first time meeting my sister's wife after they got married. So it's gonna be very nice. Awesome. I met her once before when we went to Norway last time. But now they're officially together. I get to see their new house and everything like that, so it's very nice.
escape that super famous hot Washington heat.
Yeah.
Get the Hood place a little bit, hopefully cooler. My family's originally from Norway too. I've never been. I'd love to go.
Oh yeah. We actually have like 5th or 6th cousins over there, and they have a nice big farm, and it's crazy because they've lived on that farm for the last 300 years almost, since the mid 1700s. It was really crazy. We're probably gonna go again this time as well. Gotta always go see the family farm, but it's crazy to go to a place and see a bunch of things that I saw in a museum in the house, because they just have a bunch of, because the house has been there forever and it's been in the family for that long. They're also in the process of they're making what my cousin Halfton calls real Norwegian hops, because they don't have any original strains for hops in Norway anymore. It's all been like brought over. So he's gotten with some people, and they've revivified an ancient strain from Norway, and they're now in the process of making official, like, true Norwegian brew. So it's really cool.
As long as they do it within 60 seconds of it dying, then they're in good shape.
Yeah, that's true. Revivify.
Sorry.
Get it. And that's actually another point as well. Here, we talk a lot of Pathfinder because we enjoy Pathfinder a lot here. I know that you've done a little bit with it, but I think you've mostly been dealing with D&D 5e. Is that right?
We definitely started with D&D 5e. That's where I kind of broke into the hobby. I'm not one of those people who's been playing for a very long time. I broke into this in like 2017. And we came in with D&D 5e. And then when Pathfinder 2nd Edition launched, I was very interested in Pathfinder. I think partly just from seeing it about, hearing a little bit about it, and then also listening to the Glass Cannon podcast, which I quite enjoyed. And so when the 2nd Edition launched, I was like, maybe this is the time to jump on board. And we were doing some reviews, and I reached out to Paizo. I was like, hey, do you want us to maybe review some Pathfinder stuff? And they were amenable to that idea, so I kind of started dipping my toes into it. And now I think we almost do more with Pathfinder than we do with D&D.
Oh, wow.
Because we launched Queer Finder. My partner, Grady, partner in life and in Gallant Goblin business, is a freelancer for Paizo now, working on some of their unannounced upcoming projects that I cannot talk about. But, so yeah, we are kind of pretty deep in the Paizo pool now, I guess we could say. So, yeah, a little bit of both, but we definitely still play both at home. I'm going to start launching my own actual play series pretty soon, and we're going to be playing the Outlaws of Alkenstar about props.
Ooh, it's a really good one, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about, I'm really looking forward to going home and starting to put together my WizKids terrain. The first thing they do in this adventure is they do a bank heist. And so I was like, ooh, I need to go home and build that bank with my Warlock tiles, my Dwarven Forge. And so I'm very much looking forward to that. So I brought this along to study to get ready to play that, because I haven't played Pathfinder a lot. I'm going to run some Abomination Vaults with some of my friends just privately to try to dip my toes into this to know what I'm doing. But, we're also taking a look at Spelljammer too, which is just hitting the market now. Yeah. And so we try to keep abreast of everything, and even games beyond the big two.
That's true. Yeah. Here we do actually a lot of that as well. Alex's first real game was D&D 5e.
Yep. It's fun to see another more recent addition to the tabletop community, because I got sucked in 2016 ish. I think.
No, because I don't think it was until 2017 at the latest.
2016 is when I discovered, D&D is more than just a bunch of lame nerds in a basement somewhere. Because I found Critical Role and I was like, this seems pretty cool. And then I got sucked in because Cam over here, was like, ooh, hey, home games, that'd be fun. Dug his fingers in there, and I was like, role playing's really fun. This is a great time, and I've been lost in the sauce ever since.
I never thought, because I used to run games for Adventures League, which is the public play D&D stuff. Because I actually really like D&D or 5e, and I still kind of like it to some degree. But after Pathfinder, it's been really hard going back, honestly. But I played a lot of D&D 5e, and then I ran games for Adventures League. It's funny enough how I met Alex, and then how I met my fiance as well. I got my bang for my buck when it came to Adventures League, for sure, and it was a good experience overall.
Yeah, because Adventure League is like equally really nice, but you know, it's whenever you open any sort of tabletop stuff to like the general public to just walk in, like there's problems that come up. But like other than that, it was a really fun time. Like it's like there's some like phenomenal moments, and then it was just like, man, this Cameron guy is pretty cool. Maybe I'll take up his offer to play a home game. Oh wait a second, this is way cooler than Adventure League.
Yeah.
And I've been like lost in that ever since. Where for me personally, I'm not as like delved into like the rules and stuff, and I don't really dig as deep. I'm there for a lot of surface level stuff of like, ooh, this class looks cool. Oh, that's a cool monster design. Ah, this spell sounds fun, and then that's pretty much as deep as it goes.
Well, you're in the right place. For all your class build guides, you know the right guy here.
Oh yeah. Because honestly, when I'm making a character, I gotta just message, or I get in a call with Cameron. I'm like, Cameron, is there any cool backgrounds or stuff that you know of? Because I don't.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're gonna take off with all this stuff because that's what people want to see. Like, people are on YouTube looking for build guides. They're looking for like how to maximize their character. Like, I think I focus more on, besides like the reviews of like minis and terrain. Like, I kind of like the story part of it. Like, and I want to do more videos on like, for game masters primarily, on like, and probably for players to some extent, but like how to craft a good narrative, how to make character arcs, to make sure that everybody can tell a like cohesive, fun, and engaging and unique story. And I did one campaign that I played through now twice is Storm King's Thunder, and so that's the one video I put together. Like, here are my 5 tips for Storm King's Thunder, because I played this enough, and all of the D&D adventures. And if you ever want me to go off on a tangent, you can ask me about D&D adventures. They need work. They're pretty bare bones.
Yeah,
and they need work.
Yeah. I also tried running Storm King's Thunder, and it was rough.
I love it for a lot of reasons, but there are things that you can do to make it better, for sure. But it is still one of my favorites. Like, that 3rd chapter where you can just go everywhere, and there's like information about East Lake Town and the Sword Coast, and there's pretty good little adventure hooks that you can get into. Like, you can really go craft your own stories there if you really want to. If that's something your table enjoys, you can just open up Chapter 3 of Storm King's Thunder, create characters, and just go. You don't even need an overarching narrative if you don't want to. Like, that chapter had some of the most organic storytelling that we've done at the table that we still remember to this day. Like, some of the best moments were just like wandering the Sword Coast and going off like, oh, you want to turn left instead of right? I haven't prepped this. Y'all go get a drink, and I'm going to read this little section, and we're going to see what story we're going to tell. And it was fun. It was a great time. It's a good place to like practice your improvisational storytelling.
Yeah, I remember a section from Chapter 3. It's the town where the fire giants kind of come in, and I had my players take control of one of the NPCs in the town before the heroes arrive, and try to survive until the heroes arrive, doing a variety of different things. And it was really fun. It was a fun little section there. And Storm King's Thunder, again, it's a really good one. I agree wholeheartedly. My roommate ran All About the Abyss, which was another really, really good one. Yeah. And I remember him like reading through like a description of a room, and then it goes right into, oh yeah, and there's an invisible chest at the foot of the bed or something like that, like right butt to butt with the description of the room he's trying to describe. And it's just one of those things where there's just, I don't know, I think writing adventures is harder than it sounds, though. I've never done it, and you guys made adventures, right? How hard is writing an adventure and like making it both functional as well as, I guess, gripping enough for the person reading it to actually want to read through it and not just wing it?
It's a challenge for me, especially because I've just never really considered myself a writer. Like, I've always struggled to see myself as a creative person. But Grady and a few other close friends keep trying to reassure me that I do have talent in this area, and I can do it. I've written two big adventures, not big, but like two adventures that you can get your hands on now, primarily. One is called I Am Your World, which is pretty good, a pretty good like Spelljammer-y kind of thing, where, have you ever seen the movie Dark City? Are you all familiar with this movie?
I don't think I have. It sounds familiar.
Just make a quick Google search.
It's a fantastic movie, starring Kiefer Sutherland, and I'm forgetting everybody else's name. Really,
Rufus Sewell, Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah, and directed by. No, I forget. It's a fantastic movie. I kind of based my little adventure on that, though. You find yourself waking up and you've kind of forgotten who you are. The adventure party's forgotten who they are. And part of the adventure is regaining your memories. And so you wake up kind of as a different person, but you know that there's something amiss. And you end up on a Mind Flayer's spaceship, a Neogi spaceship that they've kind of commandeered. And it's a lot of like mysterious spaceship delving and figuring out where exactly you are in the universe. And I kind of based it around the idea of I like my adventures to also educate in a little bit of ways, because I have a mental health background. And so this first adventure was about teaching people the signs of being in a relationship with someone who is I'm so tired today that I'm losing my words. A gaslighter, that's the word I'm looking for. Someone who will lie to you and manipulate you. And so the evil guy in this adventure is a mind flayer who is out in public just talking to everybody, but he's just gaslighting everybody and making them feel like they're crazy. And like, you should believe me, I'm the one who takes care of you. You don't need anybody else. You just need me. But to answer your question, like when I'm writing adventures, I think the hardest part for me is I want to make sure that the characters always have meaningful choices to make. You know, a lot of the times it's easy to write an adventure. It's not easy, but it's easier to write an adventure where like you write this whole story and then the game master really just takes the players by the hand and takes them through the story. But it's a little bit harder to like have these points in the story where the characters have to make hard choices that aren't necessarily obvious that will then change the outcome of things that happen in the story. So kind of crafting those series of choices without letting the scope get completely out of hand, because if you keep branching your story in 100 different ways, like you're never going to be able to finish writing it. So I find that the hardest thing to do is like having those meaningful choices without letting the scope go crazy. And then the other one was my adventure in the Uncaged Anthology, Uncaged Goddesses book. Where we write about D&D goddesses, and of course I have to pick Blibdlepoop, who is the ridiculous lobster-headed goddess of the Kuatoa, who is amazing because they dream her into existence with their crazy dream powers. And I had a lot of fun with that one too. And when you're writing tier 4 adventures, it's even harder because like at level 1 you're just kind of affecting things on a local level, but at tier 4 it should be like you're making nationwide changes with your characters. Like you are the heroes of the world. And so this one kind of affects like how the Kuatoa race is going to be in this universe after you control the outcome of this entire race of beings, and what you do is going to affect that entire race, which I think is fun.
I cannot imagine at all. I can't imagine writing anything on that scale. I've been DMing for the better part of about 20 years at this point now. Wow. Actually, more than 20 years now at this point. And my talent is I never prep, and they're good sessions anyway, because I can think really fast, and so I can improv really, really well. It just means I never have maps ready or anything like that, which has caused problems. But yeah. I literally cannot prep ahead of time for anything. It's such a struggle for me. But if you ask me a question, I can answer you immediately in character and just keep going and going and going. And I mean, my fiance crafted a whole city in the narrative we were doing because she kept asking me questions. I'm like, okay, cool. You give me everything I need for this city now. And we had a really good character arc in that. And that was probably one of the best character arcs we ever had in any of my anime games. So.
Oh yeah, because like it is impressive and a skill I wish I could have, but like I wouldn't believe it unless I've sat in the same room as Cam as he's delivered a dungeon, a dual like teamwork dungeon where the party is separated, and the man's just leaned back talking, not looking at anything, just like explaining these puzzles, and it's like, huh, this feels like it's from a book somewhere. Is this are you taking this from something? He's like, no, just off the dome. Like it's impressive.
That's impressive. I think there's kind of two kinds of prep too. There's a prep where like you're prepping your session, your story, your characters, everything. But there's also the prep of just knowing your setting. So I bet you do that kind of prep. Like you know the setting of your story, you know what's going on in the universe in the local area. Like you know all that stuff. And whether that's prep of reading something or just like thinking about it when you're not playing, like you know that, and that's what allows you to kind of come up with those answers at the top of your head, I bet. Or at least it helps, right?
Yeah, I do think a lot about the narratives and what's happening, but I just also think really, really fast. So a lot of it has just come from on the spot player asking me a question and then a whole thing, because I can elaborate endlessly on anything someone brings to me.
Amazing.
But again, it's one of those things where it causes me not to have a map ready. It causes me to use very thrown together things. I
don't think anybody cares.
Most of the time, no, but I care because I get frustrated because for me, it's really easy to visualize, but some players can't visualize as well, and it can be frustrating. Yeah.
I'm very guilty of that. I have a lot of trouble visualizing just anything. So I have been like confused at like what the room looks like. So I'm like, Cam, you just real quick, just like MS Paint, like just a tiny little representation.
We have some MS Paint atrocities that we had to use because
I just like need a rough diagram of like what direction stuff is in, so I can know what I'm doing. Otherwise, I'd be in a blank void.
That's what it is. Great. It's casual, you know. It should be fun.
Well, let me ask you this: one thing I did to try to improve, because I'm not as skilled at that as you are. I want to be. So one thing I did was I started taking improv comedy classes out in Houston. Have you ever done anything like that?
No, actually. A lot of my improv came from, funny enough, I used to date a girl who... How to make this internet friendly?
I was going to say.
She had an extreme fascination with in-depth roleplay to the point of making narratives. So it wasn't like pre-talk. It was more like we had to go through like a 4-hour narrative to get there. You know what I mean? I'm trying hard. I'm trying hard. We're on the internet.
You were clearly trying hard. That's
yeah. So and of course as well, she was addicted to it. So it was something that we would do 2 times a day, 3 times a day sometimes, and most days of the week. So I just had a lot of practice with just improv storytelling.
And if folks in the audience here want to DM you, what is your
what are my prices? Is that what we're talking about?
Another thing too. No,
4 hours. Who has time for that? I had time for that.
Hey, you're gonna have time for something. A 4-hour role play is a pretty good thing to have time for.
Yeah. So she definitely loved her stories, and
I bet.
It was a toxic relationship, and I'm glad it ended, but I did develop a really good tabletop skill from it, so, you know, that's what I carry from that relationship. Nothing else, just, man, I'm a really good GM now. Bizarre.
Yeah,
I have so many...
It's good to know those skills are swappable. I had not quite put those two together, but there you go.
There you go.
And now if you do want to go take your improv comedy classes, I bet you could. I found it... not to go off on too much of a tangent, but like it was pretty helpful for me to get in there and to learn kind of some of the basics on how not to get too in your head and how to trust with your first thing that comes to your mind and just to make it work. You know, maybe you'll come think back later like, ooh, maybe that wasn't the very best thing I could say, but it might still turn into a really amazing story moment, just kind of going with it, what came to my mind. And how to create characters on the fly as well. And a lot of improv is just like in character work and having to come up with a character who has a hook, who has a voice and a shtick that you can kind of just jump right into when you need it, when they want to talk to the town guard about what's going on in the town. Like making that a memorable character. Instead of me going back to my bad, not quite Irish, not quite German accent.
Right, yeah.
Just every single time.
Yeah, every guard having that really thick British accent. What's all this then?
What's all this then?
Oi, oi.
Oi!
You gotta have that one accent for like every NPC in your world. I feel that.
Yeah.
For the brief that I GM'd, that was my thing. I ran through.
I want to take it.
And all that. And
I want to take accent classes.
I would like to as well.
Because I'm so bad with voices and accent work. I can just modulate my emotion like in my voice very well. I cannot like change my voice. That was always the big hurdle with DMing, so I'd have to be like very open with players. Like, all right, listen, a lot of these people are going to sound exactly the same. You just need to bear with me. Like, I'll do my best to differentiate who's talking, but like I can't do an accent.
I really need to get back on my accent game. I used to try so much harder, but I've just been so overwhelmed with work lately.
I mean, you got a solid accent in one of our games we're playing.
I mean, like, I've had good characters. I mean, to be fair, and again, I've had also the fortune to be doing this for over 20 years at this point, so I have had a lot of practice. But I feel like since starting YouTube, and actually this is, I think, a question I'll toss your way once I'm done. But since starting YouTube, I've been so busy to the point where I'm now playing the least amount of tabletop I have ever since starting tabletop, ironically, with having a tabletop based channel. And even with us, because we also take a look at new game systems every month, we try out new books and all that kind of stuff, and I really do love tabletop, and I've been sitting here thinking, like, I just need to run more Pathfinder games. I want to so bad. I'm so addicted, but I feel like I've gotten really lazy lately, and everyone's just like, no, you're still doing great, and I'm like, yeah, but I used to do more. And I don't know. Go ahead.
You started the second job.
Yeah. Well, yeah, pretty much. And, you know, that's the thing, too, is like, when Dark Archive came out, I had just gotten over COVID. And before COVID, I had another sickness, a summer flu kind of thing. So it was 2 weeks of being really, really sick. And then I jumped into making 5 videos a week for Dark Archive, and we had a big channel boom after that because we went from like somewhere like 800 something to now 1.1k or something like that in about a month's time.
Sweet.
And that was because honestly it was surprising no one else in the field was really covering Dark Archive that much. Everyone kind of did their own little tidbits here and there, but like no one had the same content load that we had for Dark Archive coming out, and I feel like that's
really a popular book too.
It's a really popular book. The channel had a lot of growth. Now that we're past the point, it's really hard to keep my morale up because I'm seeing that the video kind of retention's dipping a bit because it's just, you know, it's not as booming of a period. Not everyone is as hungry for content as they were when Dark Archive came out.
There's always a new book though, man.
Yeah, like, there is.
We were looking at Impossible Lands. Grady's been reading that one. He was reading it last night. He stayed up late, like obsessed with reading about Nex and just having the best time. He loves it. I haven't had a chance to even look at it yet. But there's always a new book coming out that people are going to want to know the latest about.
Yeah, I'm confident our channel is going to do perfectly fine. And the recent build videos we've been doing have also been doing really, really good as well. Did you watch any of the build videos? It looks like you've watched one or something because you brought it up earlier.
I popped in the content. I don't make characters and I don't play. I'm not a player. So it's not something that I necessarily need to know. But definitely I want to go check them out as my players are starting to put their characters together. I can send them your way, but I can also, I think it'd be a good way for me to kind of get a little bit of learn a little bit about how these characters work. Because my knowledge of the individual, like how the classes work, is pretty basic, and so I'd love to be able to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive and learn about them.
Yeah, we'll always send them my way. One thing I absolutely love with the builds that we've come up with so far is I balance combat effectiveness with exploration, like how the character feels thematically, and they all have a good role play reason. They all have a very strong aesthetic or theme that really goes with them, so that the characters
3 pillars.
Yeah, feel good to play and function in more than just combat. And I feel like that's hard to find on YouTube for character builds a lot of the time.
For sure, yeah, I mean...
Like the Archivist build for Thaumaturge. Oh god, I love that build so much. It's so good. And it kind of underperformed a little bit. The new Puppet Master one that just came out today has been doing better. But I feel like once we get enough of these videos that people can start binging them, we'll see another upsurge in views. But actually, so I got super sidetracked there. You all, you kind of started your own channel, and I know you're busy with everything you got going on, especially with the Kickstarter and all that kind of stuff like that. How does that affect like your tabletop experience overall?
Everything has to be content. If it's not content, I don't get to do it. So right now, the only game I'm in is my Patreon game for my Patreon backers. And that's our Storm King's Thunder campaign. But I was doing a Humblewood campaign that's kind of fallen off since last year. I was doing, I just started Abomination Vaults, and I've only gotten one session in when like Gen Con and my mom and everything hit. So we got one session of Abomination Vaults in there, and that was gonna be my other private game where I could just, I was gonna do my core group of players who were gonna do my Alkenstar game with me. And it was going to be a way to practice and then just bring in friends for like guest sessions from time to time. But I've only gotten one of those in. But yeah, so my tabletop time is really, really freaking low. Yeah, my friends have invited me to join their campaigns, and I haven't really had a lot of time to. One of the people I worked on Uncaged with invited me to join their what's it called, Odyssey of the Dragon Lords campaign, and I'm really looking forward to maybe popping in with that later, early next year. That looks like such a fun little huge 5e adventure. I don't know if you've heard of it before.
I don't think I have, no.
Sam, that's a cool name. It's a really good name for an adventure.
Are y'all familiar with like BioWare and the computer video games that BioWare makes? Yeah. It's from the writers of those BioWare games. They put together a very interesting Greek-inspired level 1 to 20 adventure called Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. That is probably the most epic 5e campaign out there, and it is intense. There's some very adult themes. If that's the kind of thing you like or dislike, be aware. You can certainly excise them if you want to, but they're there. It's very well done. The only thing that she was saying is that in some ways the book isn't as organized as it can be, and there's a lot of little details that you might miss because like little story beats are kind of buried in item descriptions, or the kind of around, so you really have to they're thinking about maybe going and making their own game master's guide that they can sell, but like that looks like a really cool adventure, and it's got all sorts of like supporting like GM screen and everything like that too. It's a pretty good production.
Yeah, if it has any of really awesome. If it has any like the thematic carryovers of like the old Dragon Age or Mass Effect like games, like that sounds cool. Yeah,
I think it totally has that, and it does some pretty innovative things too that I don't want to spoil. But like if you get a chance to like take a look at Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, like it is well worth your time.
I'm gonna have to.
That's one of the most exciting projects I've seen from 5e in a while.
I'm so jealous. I really can't do modules. Like when I do a module, that's where like my weaknesses really kick in, because it's just like I know that there's something I should know and I don't necessarily know at the moment, so I have to go back and read it. It really stilts a lot of what I do, because I'm like, oh yeah, so let me make sure I'm doing this appropriately. And I know I could be a lot more freeform and just be like, whatever, just go with it, and hopefully everything kind of comes together. But running modules has always been my greatest weakness, even though there's so many really cool modules out there. And running Adventures League, I learned that the hard way, that I just, I'd love to do modules more, but man, they hit me in all the worst ways.
especially those huge ones like that. Like, it's one thing to run like a little one shot where you can probably memorize the whole thing by reading it once for the most part, the information you need to know. But when it is a 250-page book and you need to be familiar with the whole setting and the storylines of all the characters and NPCs and how they interact with each other and the political dynasties and how different countries relate to each other, like, it's a lot. That's kind of one of the things too with Pathfinder that can be a little intimidating, is that there's a lot of lore.
There
like
is.
I love the lore. I adore it. I wish 5e had more of it, but it can be
Same.
intimidating when you have like all these setting books that like, I don't know if I can remember like, all the intricate details about the how the Knights of Lastwall have their whole history, and like, it's a lot.
It is.
So
It's very exciting. I've had the joy. My fiance is running a game of Pathfinder 2e for us. She's running the Age of Ashes eventual module path, which is like the first one they came out with for 2e. And she discovered Hell Knights, and now she just reads all about the Hell Knights. And the Hell Knights are so cool, and she's always coming up to me telling me, like, oh yeah, did you know this and that, and you know about this city and their affiliation with it and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, that's so much information, but I love you, dear, so much for telling me about it, because I do love the lore. I find that D&D has very messy lore. It's always had very messy lore because it's had a lot of writers, and they have not had always the best narrative pulls, and then they do world resets like 4 times, 5 times now, I think. Mistra has died like 7 times or something like that. And Pathfinder's been better, but I feel like it's still hard to get super sucked into the world because it's hard to justify like, oh, okay, what is an adventurer? Because it's not really properly addressed in the narrative. It's always used to refer to the players. And what does that mean? And why are there these things that are happening that other people can't solve? Because, you know, there's other adventuring groups or whatever. Like, where are they? It's kind of like the New York City comic issue. It's like, how is anyone ever having issues in New York City when there's literally 10 superheroes within like a 20-mile radius? So
that was one thing that I really enjoyed about Call of the Netherdeep, the 5e adventure. That came out not too long ago, that Sadie Lowry contributed to, because in that adventure there is a rival group of adventurers who can overtake you, like take care of, like if you don't take care of something, they'll take care of it and get a little bit of a lead on you. So it's kind of a rival thing that you have going on, and you can have antagonistic relationship with them. You can cooperate. They'll do different things, but I thought that was kind of fun, where you have a rival group of adventurers that you get to play
I think
against.
that's really cool too. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading about that adventure specifically. Like, that's such a cool concept, like the anti-party. Especially if it gives you the freedom. I didn't know it gave you the freedom to even like be friends with them. I thought it was a purely like they are the bad guys. Oh, that's cool.
They kind of take the counter role that you take. So if you want to play kind of a more evil party, they will become the good guys, the protagonists of the story, and you can be the antagonist, or vice versa. And they can kind of switch up here and there as you go through. So it was a really well done little mechanic. I really like Call of the Nether. It's one of my favorite 5e things that they've come out with in the last couple of years. There's some cool stuff in there.
You know, I also do need to, like, now that I'm playing Pathfinder again after a pretty big break, because college was kicking my ass for a little bit. I kind of couldn't join in new games. Now that I am able to actually play Pathfinder again, I gotta learn all this cool Galarian lore, because there's like some cool stuff. I love the Hell Knights, but the problem is learning new lore is really hard, because I've kind of downloaded all of Warhammer like 40k into my brain.
That's a lot of lore.
I feel like I'm an encyclopedia for it. Someone can like say, oh, here's a little passing comment. Okay, here's like the actual thing you're talking about. Where I can immediately like bring that up.
He gets pretty sweaty in our Discord whenever someone brings up Warhammer.
The only time I will admit, the only time I've ever been like annoying about it is if you correct somebody wrong about 40k, like, I'm gonna correct you because I'm actually somebody wrong. You gotta cite your sources. I got sources. I've read the books. I've been deep in those trenches.
The only way to approach like Pathfinder Galarian lore is just that to focus in on the area that your player is going to be in for now. Yeah. Like, if you're going to dive into it, like if you're playing Alkenstar, like picking up the Impossible Lands book that's coming out pretty soon and just digging into that, Guns and Gears, like you can't learn it all. Or if you're going to play like Galt, that adventure that came out by Ron Lundeen last year, that little shorter adventure, like just dig into Galt lore, and then it branch out from there maybe, or but like, oh my god, trying to tackle it all at once is just too much.
Yeah,
that's why I love Pathfinder, because they come out with these wonderful area books, as the Mwangi Expanse or whatever. And I love this book. It gives you everything you need. I wish D&D would do something like this. Because
this is what I've been saying.
The Sword Coast book is literally like less than half the size of this book. And the Sword Coast is everything Faerun.
Yeah, and that's the only lore book that they've ever done.
Yeah.
Or setting book. Like this book here, The Astral Adventurer's Guide. This needed to be, and I'm going to make a video on this and getting my scoop here. This needed to be split into 2 books. They needed to have, this set needed to be 4 books if it was going to do what it needed to do. Because they need a book that has the mechanics and all the ship stuff and all that fun stuff that you want to do to have your little space battles and whatnot. But they need a lore book. They need a setting book about wild space and a place you can go. And this book is half of a setting book and half of a mechanics book. And it doesn't really do either one a lot of justice. Because they have the adventure that came out with this book, Light of Zerixtus, I like the adventure. Like, it is unique and fun, and the way they put it together, it is a 12-part, like, serial, like you had of like old Zorro shows back in, like, the 50s or whenever it was. Like, it's put together in such a fun way, but you need more setting information.
Look at the art on that book, though. The art is so
art's
pretty.
So good.
I love this. I love the art on Boo's Astral Menagerie here. I can pull it out of the box.
No worries.
Look at that. Oh my god.
Those are both so good.
I mean, Paizo and D&D have just the absolute best artists.
They
do. They don't get enough credit. I don't talk about them enough. I mean, come on, Boo.
Yeah.
I do not give them enough credit when I that's just absolutely gorgeous. The cover of the travel guide from Pathfinder.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Absolutely
about that.
Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous.
I really
great work.
They were putting out requests for people to cover travel guide, and I really wanted to, but I've been so busy backlogging videos for the week that I'm going to be gone. That's so pretty.
Great.
I love the color palette.
I love because I never played Spelljammer back in the day because I'm new to this.
Right.
So I love this. Like the space is just a vast ocean, motif that is in there. Like everybody's just in flying galleons, and there's like sea whales and sea fish, and I love this idea, this metaphor. But as far as travel guide goes, too, before I'll let you move on from that. Totally agree. I had reached out to say let me do a video on travel guide too. I reached out to Aaron for that, and I ended up just so they sent me a copy. I was kind of reading through the PDF, and I just ended up at Gen Con grabbing Luis Loza, who was the project manager of that one, and just talking about the entire thing. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I was supposed to do that. I don't know if I was supposed to do an interview about the entire book, but I just kind of couldn't stop myself from asking all sorts of questions. And so I was like, let me wait, and I'll release this after people have gotten their exclusive things done, because I just got too excited about it.
Yeah, you can always message Aaron, and he'll always tell you what's copacetic. But
we're still working on Dark Archive stuff too.
Yeah, a lot of people are. Like I said, I'm so surprised Dark Archive did not get the coverage I felt it deserved from other content creators.
There's another wave coming of Dark Archive coverage from a lot of people. I think we're waiting on some stuff to finally get finalized, but I think there's another wave coming. I did an interview with James Case about it that we're still sitting on, waiting for some things to get checked off. So there's another wave coming at some point. But it was fun to talk to James about it. That was James Case's first Project Lead book.
Yeah,
I absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, he was so good. I got to talk to him a little bit. We were doing the delve at PaizoCon, and he was kind of showing some stuff off during the delve as well. It was really, really cool.
That's always the fun thing about the Pathfinder books. Each time it feels like, damn, Paizo, you knocked it out of the park. How are you going to top this one? Oh man, you just casually topped it, huh?
I would love to go in to see their whiteboard full of all the potential projects that they have.
That'd be so cool.
just to kind of imagine. But yeah, it was fun to be at Gen Con 2 to pop into their booth in the morning and see the giant stack of Dark Archive books that they're selling, and then come back a couple hours later and see that stack has dwindled because they sold so many of them. Like, it was just great to see that too.
I really wish I could have gone, but yeah, gotta get ready for a trip to Norway, which is already stressful enough. And then I was also at the end of the Dark Archive boom, which I didn't even get any early access to Dark Archive. I had to do the subscription so that I could get it, and then I busted my ass for 2 weeks to get all the content out on it and everything like that. And I'm happy now. The channel is now officially big enough where we can get some early access to the content.
Excellent.
That will save us a lot of time, because I asked to, and the channel was like at like 800 or something, and I was like, I'm sorry, your channel's not quite the big enough size. And I'm like, all right. So I came in, kicked ass anyway, and now we're here. Now we can. It'll make things easier. But
we are. Congratulations, though. Yeah, that's amazing too. The growth y'all had. It took us forever to get over 1,000 subscribers. I still remember who was my 1,000th subscriber. My buddy Anthony back in Houston. But we are releasing a supplement for Dark Archive. The Gallant Goblin. We are going to release a cryptid supplement. Well, some of our own cryptids and things that we've put together. Some pretty great creators in the community. Some pretty cool art and some fun new takes on some new types of cryptids that I'm pretty excited about. So
I love the cryptids. If my channel wasn't so geared towards player-facing content, I would have loved to delve more into what Dark Archive had to offer, because there's so much that is really, really good. The cryptid stuff was amazing. As a GM, as the forever GM that I am, it's so nice to be like, oh, cool, now I got these really cool stat blocks to make boss monsters for my players.
Yeah. Your own unique ones too, right? Like, you can turn any monster into a special kind of monster that's very thematic and fun, and I think that's really cool.
And the After Effects stuff as well.
That's my other thing that's favorite. Yeah,
it's really
I think we're
cool.
doing some of those too. That's something I really want to see a lot more of. Where if you're not familiar with, if you're not familiar with cryptids and you're watching along at home, cryptids are like those monsters of myth. That cryptozoology, I think the full term is. Your werewolves, your Bigfoots, your yetis and things like that. And so it's kind of the legendary creatures. And then the aftermath feats are feats that you can take if you have certain encounters in your games, like if you survived being downed by a red dragon's flame attack, kind of sort of thing. Like, life-altering experiences you may have had can leave you with these extraordinary abilities. Or you made a deal with a devil. It might leave you with a devil's eye and being able to discern certain truths and facts, and I forget what all the details were.
Yeah,
but I love that because it allows your moments in your campaign that should have meaning to have a lasting mechanical effect on your characters. And that's what I like to see. Like, I love that stuff.
It's really, really good. And again, like I said, that's why we need more content creators in the field to do more stuff for these games, because I was busting my ass for 2 weeks and all I could manage was 2 class reviews and all the archetype, like deep dives into the archetypes. And that was the most work I've ever done for the channel. It was exhausting. Very rewarding, but still, that's all I could manage with just that. And the book still has so much more to offer. I wish I could do everything for it, but it's just, it's just a lot. And that's why we need more content creators to do that kind of stuff. And that's why, I'm very excited to see Pathfinder has also been getting a lot more traction lately on Twitter. It keeps trending, and the hobby. I also been checking out Google Trends because YouTube nerd content creator who just is like, what's up? And Pathfinders has been very steadily increasing in Google Trends as well. So more and more.
I think we'll see a lot
getting into it.
Yeah, once we see like Abomination Vaults hit 5th edition, I think we'll see a few more interesting people maybe learning about the Pathfinder universe and wanting to learn more. And so I hope we see more and more 5e content. I I know there's more 5e stuff coming, and I think you probably were in the room for the keynote there that we got from Eric Mona at PaizoCon, correct?
Yes.
I feel like he hinted at some future 5e content that I don't know if it was officially announced. And sometimes now I don't know if it's stuff I know I'm supposed to say or not. I don't remember what context I learned things. But I feel like this is not going to be the only 5e thing they have besides Kingmaker coming out.
Yeah,
which is just the best area.
I think in the posts live note, like Q&A we did afterwards, he mentioned some of it. And I know that it's just it's a brilliant marketing campaign, because not only does Paizo benefit from added revenue from, you know, a much more popular game, but not only that, it is almost like free advertisement for what's going on in Galarian. And the fact that D&D doesn't post any kind of like area books, any locale books, no world books or anything like that, and Pathfinder does, so people could be super hyped for D&D 5e, but be like, well, I guess I'll read this one on Pathfinder, maybe we'll do a 5e in Galarian or whatever, and they'll read it and they'll be like, oh my god, this is so good, and then they go on to do the modules that they have, because like Strength of Thousands is such a good adventure path as well. I love that one. Good. Yeah, it's my favorite one. And you're right, like they can, once they have these 5e adventures out there, and I'll just say what I'm thinking about, because nothing was officially said to me, but I feel like after they finish Abomination Vaults, I think they're thinking about doing Fist of the Ruby Phoenix as a 5e adventure. That makes sense.
And I'm not sure about that, but I think that's sort of the follow-up adventure, like timeline wise. And one is like a 1 to 12, 10-ish adventure, and the other one's like 10 to 20-ish or whatever it was. So they kind of flow one to another. But you're right, because those adventures, they are mechanics heavy, so you need to have them converted to 5e. But the lore books have extraordinarily little mechanics. You pick up Travel Guide. There's not much in the way of like player options necessarily. There's a little bit, but it's not a lot. Milwaukee Expanse had more, but like you can pick those up. Like I was recommending people who play 5e just pick up Milwaukee Expanse and tell their own 5e stories in there, because it's mostly just setting and lore that you can use in any game system. And even more so.
I absolutely loved it. I was reading the book like cover to cover. I love like the Tarlu dwarves. I loved all the dwarves from the Wang Expanse, actually. They're really, really cool. And the cloud dragons and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I was going to join like another streamer, but it didn't go through, which is very sad. I wanted to make a Tarlu dwarf for that and do like a ranger for the Strength of Thousands. But it's great. And the thing is they add so much to these books. Even the actual, like adventure, or not adventure books, the actual like rule books where they add like Dark Archive or the Secrets of Magic or whatever. There's so much lore in those books as well that are super interesting. Secret of Magic had like little notes from this girl who's going through her path on being a witch or whatever, and like communing with her patron and all that kind of stuff. They actually added small mini adventures to Dark Archive, which was also really cool. And they do the thing I absolutely love in tabletop games, where they also give a lot of like story crumbs to GMs in certain sections, like here's something that's going on in this area, or here's an interesting thing that, you know, might spark an adventure all its own. They did that a lot in the Mwangi Expanse. So
yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah,
there's just a lot. And again, Pathfinder is my current favorite tabletop system. I just can't get enough of it. I mean, we still play D&D every other week, and D&D was the game system that really revitalized my love for tabletop when I was getting a little tired from running another game system that was way harder to run because it's just very advanced, very number heavy, and also just very horribly written.
What? Nah, it's the best system ever made. Anima Beyond Fantasy is the best system that has ever been designed. It is definitely not a hot mess that is missing tables that they directly reference inside the rules.
Yeah.
And it definitely doesn't give the players systems to create their own powers, of which break the game entirely.
Yes.
Let me jump in real fast, because I think Grady just sent me something that may be of interest to people listening to us right now. It looks like Paizo has just teamed up with Humble Bundle for another Humble Bundle. This is the Strength of Thousands bundle. where and I'm not shilling for them, but like I love getting these humble bundles when I can. But for $25, you can get the core rulebook, the bestiary, Lost Omens World Guide, Advanced Player's Guide, the Lost Omens Character Guide, and yeah, the Strength of Thousands, the entire adventure, it looks like. Plus, like, Slithering and a lot of the Pathfinder Society, the Monkey Expanse, a whole sorts of stuff. But if you want to play, like, that adventure path, like, this is the humble bundle that's got everything you need in it.
And that's what I love about Paizo, too. They give they give everything so freely. They're like, we have all our rules in Archive and Ethos. Oh, here's humble bundles with hundreds of dollars for, $25.
$25, which is the cost of like one adventure path book. Now keep in mind these are PDFs, so you won't get the full book, but like there's a ton of stuff. That's really cool. Like a lot of flip maps, character sheets, all sorts of fun stuff.
I love Humble Bundle so much too. There's so many like fun like comic book or tabletop stuff, and it's always nice that it's a really nice way to get all this stuff and like donate to a lot of like reputable good charities. Because I've definitely grown my Steam library by an absurd amount by donating to some pretty good causes.
This is comic books for kids. This is going to support, and who can? What a better thing than give comic books to kids who are probably in the hospital and whatnot.
Yeah.
I have to share a very quick, unrelated story.
Sure.
That I saw today. So my mom is in the nursing home right now, recovering from her ailments. And so I was visiting her today. And of course, it's a lot of people in the nursing home are like very, like, that's one step below being in the hospital, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very, not really able to take care of themselves. But I was walking past one of the rooms, and some woman who's staying there has set up her own side hustle. And she is in there, like, crafting little like art projects and Christmas ornaments. And she is selling them out of her nursing home room. And I just thought that was the cutest thing I'd ever seen, that she's just in there in her bed, but she's just there making stuff, and she's a little sign out. And she has all the stuff like decorating her entire room. You can go in there and pick out what you want. Like, I know it's unrelated to anything, but it just made my week, I think, seeing that. Mm-hmm. Like, how cool is that?
That's really cool. It's especially because I've had a bit of experience, unfortunately, with some of my grandparents who are no longer with us. Being in one of those nursing homes, it can be hard. It's kind of a depressing environment. So the fact that she's got enough vim and vigor to go and do that's really cool.
Yeah, just see that little side. I told my mom, like, they're showing you up. You got to get moving. Like, they're running their own businesses here. What are you doing? You're watching soap operas. Up, get up. Get stuff done. I just love that. I just wanted to share that little tidbit I saw today.
No worries.
And I shared a link in the chat to the Humble Bundle for Pathfinder.
Thank you.
That link looks sketchy. It's because for some reason with Humble Bundle, when you're trying to share it, it is like a 400 character link for some reason. So I had to shorten it for Twitch and YouTube. But there it is. I also was looking through it. That is a great deal, and love some good Humble Bundles. D&D Pathfinder stuff that it gets donated to charity. That's the best.
Yeah, it's up for 20 days too. So if you don't want to pick it up today, you can pick it up a little bit later. But and there's different tiers too. If you want to spend just $5, you can just get like the first 2 books of the adventure, etc., etc. But go ahead and spend $25. It's $25. It's dinner.
It's worth it. That's like ordering something off of like DoorDash or something. Just avoid DoorDash for a day, and y'all can buy some a lot of books,
a whole bunch of stuff.
So we're about an hour.
Do you want to talk about minis?
Yeah, actually, read my mind. We're about an hour in. Let's talk some minis, shall we? So what got you into the whole mini game, I guess, of tabletop?
Well, my first adventure I started running in 2017 was Storm King's Thunder, and I just really wanted to have the minis for it. I knew there was a WizKids set for Storm King's Thunder, and I started, you got some like booster boxes back there. And so I wanted to collect some booster boxes, collect some minis to be able to tell those stories, have those battles on my table. And I just kind of got obsessed with them at some point. And my first video ever made that never really made it to YouTube was just me buying a couple of booster boxes and like filming myself doing some unboxings I had watched a lot of unboxings on the internet, on YouTube, and they're kind of awful, a lot of them. A lot of it is just like completely unedited stuff where they're like spend half the time just struggling with the packaging, and then they like hold the things up to their camera and the camera's not focusing, and they're like, and it's just like the worst. And I was like, I can do better than that. And so we decided, and I wanted to see the minis. It wasn't like a place where you could go and really like see good looks at what can you get in the Storm King's Thunder booster boxes? Like what's a possibility of getting here? And so like we're just gonna do it. Nobody's doing it. We're gonna go do it. And so that's kind of how we got started.
Yeah, because that's the one thing I've really noticed while like watching through your videos is both of you did a really good job of actually properly showing off and filming minis. As someone who paints and tries to take pictures of my minis, it is hard. It is real hard to take a picture of a mini that shows, like, especially on my end, where it's like, look at all the cool little details I added. Like, trust me, they're there. You just have to see it with your in real life. And the format that you have with the nice, like, spinning white setup, for that, is a really good way to showcase like the detail of those minis. And like, a lot of them are super cool. I love all those like giant ones that they make. Those are always like so those like big dragons or giant or giants minis they've done are some of my favorites.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's and being able to show like it's not flashy like showing the thing rotating in a white background, but I think it does give you a good look at it, and it gives us an opportunity to like show the art that each mini is based on. Because most of them are based on art that's in the book. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's kind of cool to see the original art next to how the mini came out. The one thing I worry about sometimes is, especially with the older minis, like minis, especially the older ones, not necessarily made to be like looked at like real big up close, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're meant to be down on your table. And so sometimes I feel a little bad, like, I kind of will do some of these minis a disservice by showing them in so much detail. Because they're teeny tiny things, and we're blowing them up pretty big on your screen, like bigger than actual size by far. And so it's like they're like, "Oh, those faces look hideous," and I'm like, "Do you realize the face is like the size of a pinhead? Like that's a very small thing. We're just seeing it blown up. Like don't judge these poor like artists in these factories too harshly because we're just showing these at really large size. Look at them on your table. The faces look fine. Don't worry about it."
Yeah, if you can like look at it at a glance, like from a distance, like that is in fact a face.
Yeah, that's a face.
Because painting them is agony. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate painting faces. It's the worst. They never come out good. And they always look pretty bad. It's a skill.
Mm-hmm. The pre-painted ones from WizKids and other companies have gotten a lot better. You can tell, like, I think starting from their Waterdeep Dragon Heist set a couple of years ago, like they've gotten a lot better. But sometimes some of them can still look a little bit rough, but they still look fine on the table. Like, I don't give a lot of opinions on my feelings about the individual minis just because it's so subjective. Like, I feel like I can share more opinions about adventures and books and stuff like that. But like the minis, like you're either gonna like it or you're not. We're showing you enough information, you can draw your own opinion. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't, you don't need me to be like, this one's good and this one's bad necessarily.
I remember talking to Grady, and I think Grady's the one who's responsible for a lot of like the filming of the pieces and all that kind of stuff, right?
I film it, he edits it.
Oh,
I do the filming, okay. He does the editing.
I see. Yeah, I remember he was talking because he's very passionate about like making sure it looked right and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's really cool. I've never really messed with minis all too much. Again, I don't have maps for minis to be used on. So, but I do have these that we got from PaizoCon. This is the Pathfinder Battles Legendary Adventures from WizKids.
Yeah. It's their first set of second. Yeah, it's their first set of second edition minis. It's a pretty good set of some sort of basic characters that you need, basic monsters, goblins and bugbears and things of that nature. That's a good set.
We'll see what I get here.
And
we got a live unboxing.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah! And I got some like Starfinder ones that are on my shelf that I got sent to me from Cam.
Yeah,
the Starfinder minis are amazing.
They're really well done.
Also, I will say as well, we will be doing another giveaway probably next month for what ones I do have here. This box has been jumped on by my cat a few times, so it's okay. I was intending on keeping this box anyway, but I got a really nice one right here. It looks like
what we got. I'm excited.
I'm very excited for this one. I got, it looks like a dragon turtle.
Oh,
So here is this one.
that's a good one. That's one of the biggest ones in the set.
It is one of the biggest ones in the set. This is, it's a dragon turtle. That's so good. I absolutely love this mini right here.
That's a good mini.
That's really good.
Yep.
Let me show you all the box in better detail first because these boxes come with 3 figurines, I believe. 4.
Should be 4. Usually 4. The Starfinder one came with 3. Usually the Pathfinder ones come with 4. It's usually 1 large or huge and 3 mediums or smalls.
Yeah, let's see here. It looks like I got a female orc archer, orc battler. Oh, that's not gonna.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you see the issues.
Well,
you have to hold your hand behind it and do this kind of business.
I have actually, I can just adjust my exposure manually.
Ooh, somebody's fancy.
Well, I have it set because autofocus always messes up a lot. There you go.
There you go. That's a good looking orc.
Yeah, that was not bad. Let's see here. I'm gonna be a little fuzzy because it's all manual.
Yeah.
I don't trust my autofocus at all.
And they're usually
that.
Oh, a little goblin. What's this one? Goblin ankle slasher.
Mm-hmm.
Great, look at that.
I love the Pathfinder goblins.
I love them too. I love the pumpkin head goblins, or the watermelon head goblins. I like those so much more than the other ones.
What's the goblin? The ancestry for goblins? The ones that hit their heads on rocks to become smaller.
Unbreakable goblins.
Yeah, I love those.
Let's see.
The
This
bouncy
is
goblins.
a halfling slinger.
Cute.
Yeah.
Don't know when that one would come up all too often. Most time when you get halflings, they're always like, were-rats. Like most often than I don't know why, but
more of a PC choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Were-rat halflings are very common choices for some reason or another. But yeah, that dragon turtle is, I think, worth the price of the box by itself. It's so good. It's got a nice bit of heft to it as well. And it's actiony. You see a good flow of action in that. It's not a stationary pose.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. I'll put those up on our collection desk when I'm done here.
Okay. We have 3 giant boxes from WizKids sitting on our front porch today. So as soon as we finish this interview, we're going to do a remote unboxing of everything in that set, which should have some pretty fun stuff in it, including, I'm hoping, Impossible Lands minis from Pathfinder.
Ooh.
And so we're going to have that up hopefully tomorrow. Grady's going to do the unboxing, and I'm going to be in a little box reacting, I guess.
Oh,
I'm here
that's going to be
out in
fun.
Georgia. So we're going to try to put this together. It's the first time we've done this. So if you want to see some of the cool new minis coming out over the next few months, we usually get early looks at them from at the Gallant Goblin because WizKids is kind to us. So we'll have that over on the Gallant Goblin YouTube channel. The other thing I wanted to mention about minis that I thought was interesting, and we haven't brought this up today, but it's a huge news day for D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they announced today, one thing I'm excited about, the one thing that kind of brought me into D&D in the first place was D&D Beyond. Being able to kind of have a streamlined way of running your games, keeping up with hit points and monster attacks and everything like that, like all the stats and math that's involved. Like the D&D Beyond thing, like I use it all the time. For Pathfinder, I use Hero Lab or things of that nature. But they announced one D&D, which is going to be their like 5.5 edition, but they've combined. They bought out D&D Beyond, which is their digital tool set. And they are really bringing those in together, and they announced their own BTT system, essentially. And what I think is really cool about it is that where places like Roll20 and Foundry use like tokens, which are basically art that are just like round tokens, 2D things. They are making this system based on minis. So they're using that tilt, like I forget the name of that. That filming method where you can you have like a strip in the middle that looks in focus and everything out here is sort of blurry, so it makes everything look like a miniature.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The term for that way of filming. It's like tilt or something like that.
My
and
film professor would yell at me for not knowing this. I study film in college, and I'd be getting yelled at by my professor right now.
Well, you know what that is.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They're doing the whole thing where it's like instead of making it look like a video game or anything, they like all the characters are minis. Like they look like minis and they're static, but you can move the mini around the dungeon. And so that's the sort of visual cue that they're going for in the system. And I thought that was super cool. Like you retain that feel of running on like Dwarven Forge with your minis, even though you're playing online. And it's totally different than what like Roll20 and Foundry and other systems are doing. And so like if they're gonna make their own system, like I really love that they're doing it that way. They're using the Unreal Engine to hopefully make it run smoothly. And like go watch the one D&D video, like toward the end, the announcement video, toward the end you can kind of see that what they have. It looks beautiful. And if they can like release that, like when you buy an adventure, when you buy the Dragonlance adventure, like if it comes with all those maps and minis pre-made that you can just run, like you know, so like you have it all there. You don't have to collect all the minis and the maps. Like that's really cool. Like to be able to do it digitally, and like a lot of us are still going to want to have our little things to hold on to and you know customize ourselves because it's like cool having cool like real life things. But like the next best thing is just getting it all digitally, and it still looks like minis, and I love that.
Yeah, I did see that because I watched the one D&D not long, like an hour before we started today. And definitely mentioned tilt shift, I think, is the camera.
Tilt shift, yeah.
Yeah, that one. So, thank you,
I was close. I was getting there.
But yeah, I'm very excited for that as well. I do think that's going to be the future of tabletop is full like online integration so that you can do battle maps. Like they've released adventure paths that have these things that you can interact with. They're pre-set up for you so they allow you to get right into the game and go. And they kind of been doing that already with Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. I know Pathfinder's been doing a lot with Fantasy Grounds lately with their newest releases.
And Foundry.
And Foundry. And that is... And a good question has been asked, but we'll get to that here in just a second. But yeah, I definitely like the idea of like a D&D Beyond thing where you can just hop on, you get this battle map, and because I know a good majority of tabletop games nowadays are run online just due to the pandemic and everyone kind of got used to it. And then not only that, but like us included, we have friends who are states away, you know, who live like in, I think, Kentucky now, I want to say.
Or even like country away for some of them.
Or even country.
Yeah.
My sister lives in Norway, so, you know.
Two of the players in my Storm King Thunder game are in England, and one of them, well, I was playing Humble with somebody in Japan. So yeah, we play all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I really love about... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. So go ahead. I like your point. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, too, like, I really love the way that they did it with Foundry and Paizo Pathfinder. That's one reason I wanted to pick up their Abomination Vaults path on Foundry, because not only do they have all the encounters, all the maps and everything set up, but also the sound effects and music.
Yeah.
Like, the sound effects and music are based on where your particular player token is on the map. And there's different audio cues and kind of, I think it's sourced from Sirenscape, but, like, it is individualized, so different players are hearing different things depending on where they are on the map. And it's just like, it's awesome. Like, you're talking about using like your MS Paint skills to help cue the imagination of your players. And what's better than like having not only the art of the monster, but also the room, but also sound effects that they can hear and music cues that let them know that maybe there's something a little sinister that you're kind of feeling in your gut. You know, and the way that you can kind of get that across is through music cues. Like, I love, like, engaging the various senses. Like, we were even at the table using some of those, like, adventure candles to get the scents into the air, because I really like to do that, too. Like, if you're at a harbor, you have, like, a harbor candle that smells like the ocean. You're in a crypt, you kind of get one that smells like old ash or something. Like, I love doing all that stuff. And just making it as immersive, like doing the lights, getting the hue bulbs to change the color of the lights depending on the mood. We played music around the room, like, all that stuff is what I love.
I would be unstoppable if I had a program where I could click a scroll down and select a dungeon, say generate randomly, and have just a panel of like buttons for certain sound effects or whatever. I would become a godly DM if I had that potential, just because that solves every weakness I have all in one, and not only that, but improves immersion, which is the biggest thing that I think all tabletop really wants to create as much of as possible, which is that feeling that you're sucked into the game and into the world in the moment there. And having visual cues, sound cues, even sensory like smell and everything like that, I think is massive. And I can't wait to see more technology coming out about it. It's coming all the time. They've been innovating a lot, and I think with the advent of D&D 5e and now Pathfinder 2e, I feel like that technology.
I'm sorry, 5e is dead. We can't say 5e anymore.
Yeah,
it killed it. It's dead.
There's no more additions. No more additions. It's just
one D&D.
D&D, just one D&D.
One D&D plus max is all it is now.
Yeah. That's a whole conversation in itself.
One D&D 360 edition D. Yeah, that's all it is now.
Yeah, then exactly. Wait like 10, 15 years. Oh man, guys, one D&D 2 is coming out now. It's gonna be great.
It's not an edition though.
It's not an edition. It's just a sequel to D&D.
I feel like when you're taking your naming cues from Microsoft Xbox products, like you're probably losing.
No.
Okay, you know what? We can't not talk about this now, can we? So what'd you feel
Before you do, let me run to the restroom real quick.
Okay,
I'll let you two talk about it, and then I'll jump back into the conversation. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I kind of did the same thing earlier when you were talking, so that's completely fair.
Right back.
No worries. But yeah, all right. Well, Alex and I, we could get this started. We can we can talk about this.
Yeah.
So you haven't actually like looked at anything official yet, have you? Or
I learned about one D&D like 15 minutes before the stream started, because I woke up, I got ready, I sat on my computer and hopped on, and then I was like, oh, that's a thing. So all I've read is the corporate statement. And I also watched. I haven't like fully listened to it. I saw the what they were doing with the minis, the like 3D environment thing for D&D Beyond. Looks awesome, and like in the video, and that's about it. I know, all I know is the stuff you guys have been saying.
You know what? Let's do something fun here. And welcome back, Thea.
Thank you very much.
No
I can talk
worries.
about it. Like, if you do want to talk about it, I did look at it a little bit. So,
okay, let's talk about. I was actually gonna. You know what I think will be fun? Let's watch it here on stream real quick. We'll watch the video that they put out because I think it's hilarious. Probably not for the reasons they want you to, but you know, it's and I will say. It's not, we're not necessarily bashing on D&D or anything like that. We all love D&D, all that kind of stuff. I understand the purpose for why I came out the way it did, but it's... I'm
not even sure what you're referring to. Like, I didn't really notice any problems with it.
Well, we'll talk about it here. 1 second. Let's get this pulled up.
I need to actually load up the stream. That would probably help.
No worries. There might be a delay.
Yeah.
Especially on what program you're using, depending. But alright, here we go. Actually, let me
Are
turn
you playing
off...
the 6-minute video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oop, it's me.
Dungeons & Dragons is a thrilling adventure. One we play together as Dungeon Master and players, but also an adventure itself. Now, we stand at the start of a new generation of Dungeons & Dragons, and today we're going to introduce some of what's in store for us as we embark on an initiative that we call One D&D.
Growing up, I loved fantasy, but I never saw myself as the hero because I didn't think it was possible for someone who looked like me, who acted like me, who was like me, to be that hero.
We want to continue to reach out to folks who are interested in fantasy, who love storytelling, who enjoy spending time with their friends and creating these collective stories that they can remember for years to come.
D&D's been around for 50 years, and there's very little that persists that long that becomes generational, that people can really just not only share, but literally hand down to their kids. What we want to do is just add to that legacy.
We did a smart thing with 5th edition by listening to the fans. And what came out of that process was a system that is stable, that is well loved, that incorporates the best elements of earlier editions. Now that we have that, we are no longer in the position where we think of D&D as an edition. It's just D&D.
5th edition is a rule set that has worked for so many people and has brought so many new and exciting folks into the game. It's more important for us to continue to cultivate and respect and love what it is, you know, that the world has told us is working for them.
The sort of change you're going to see isn't about taking anything away from you, isn't about changing any of that stuff that you love. It's much more about giving you more options, giving you more choices you can make, more character types you can play, more magic spells you can cast. Basically, you know, we're very happy with the game the way it is today. We just want to build on that. We're revising the major core rulebooks that every player uses, the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Monster Manual.
One of my focuses, specifically, is the Dungeon Master's Guide. I'm going to make some structural changes to make it more friendly to new DMs.
When it comes to art for D&D, it's about as versatile as our players. We want to show that the person you are can appear in the world of Dungeons and Dragons.
That's what 2024 holds, is this promise of getting new versions of the books that are the game you know, but reflect where the game is presently.
One D&D has 3 pillars, and one is the rule set, which is built on the base of 5th edition, but updated.
We're building upon the rules that have been established, the storytelling, and expanding our world and our rule system.
When we say building on top of 5th edition, what we mean is that all the adventures and supplements that have been released in the past 10 years will still be playable with the new evolution of D&D.
Then there's D&D Beyond, which is the base of our digital tools and assists for players and DM. Currently, players are cobbling together all kinds of different apps and websites to have a true integrated D&D experience. What we want to do is actually just provide all the tools that the players need to play themselves in one space.
Right now, with the acquisition of D&D Beyond, we've already started to dip our toe into digital, and it was a fantastic partnership that we have going, but we can add more.
Digital physical bundles is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and now that D&D Beyond is part of our family, it's finally something we can do. Your content is available anywhere you want it, and you have those physical books, but you've got nice portable versions that you can access through your phone or through your tablet or through your other device.
Then our future-facing aspect of this is the D&D Digital, which will become a full play space for you to have experiences that are more immersive. Right now we're in early development of our digital experience. We can play a game, roll some dice, see the miniatures moving around in a 3D play space, but that's just the core of it.
We chose the Unreal Engine for several reasons.
Reason number 1, make it look dope. That's the first thing. Number 2 is take care of the lazy DM, because we're all lazy DMs. Ease of use means being able to access all of the tools that you need in order to get the adventure started. So we used a camera technique called tilt shift. It actually makes things look small. We want to make sure that the experience for you is that you're experiencing a miniature set.
The tilt shift camera was really chosen so that people understood that this wasn't a video game, but it is a digital experience. We want to give people more minis, more options for character customization. You can actually change the features, do what you want with it. And you're going to use this miniature approach to tell stories just like you do in physical tabletop.
To have your character live.
I'm transported there, but I'm not limited by the digital technology.
We might give you a pre-made campaign from us that has an exciting castle or keep with a dungeon inside of it, exciting NPCs, but then you're going to be able to take this playset, take it apart, and build your own. We're going to have a really robust tool for you to be able to create your own dungeons.
This is just the start of 1D&D, and we are relying on all of you to help us out and figure out that future together.
What you're going to be able to see starting in August is a steady release of these playtest packages where you'll be able to engage with key aspects of the game, provide us with feedback that then we will digest, process, interpret, analyze, and then act upon.
Really, it's you shaping the next generation of Dungeons & Dragons, and we want to hear exactly what you have to say.
Playtesting starts today. Go to dndbeyond.com, download the playtest packet, and get ready to let us know where you'd like this next leg of the adventure to go.
All right. Might be a few more seconds for Theo there. Let me know when y'all are done.
I'm good.
You're done. How about you, Alex?
Yeah. I'm looking over the other stuff too that they posted.
So, Alex, since you're the only one who hasn't really watched or seen any of this, what was your first impression of it? I'm curious.
Primarily, I like the intent. The form of it is it's a little too corporate for my liking, like how everything was constructed itself. But I think that the idea behind it is in the end a good one. It makes sense because the big fear of hey, let's make a brand new edition is, so this hundreds and hundreds of dollars I've spent on your game is now down the drain. I can't touch it again, or at least there's not going to be anything new for the system I like because you're getting rid of it. So the idea of it's all going to still be active in a design instead of building upon it and adding more, I think fixes a lot of my complaints with 5e. Is that I want more stuff. I want more cool things. I want more options and stuff to fiddle. If they make a lot of the classes just a lot more fun, add more stuff, I'm into it. And also that whole D&D Beyond and creating a digital miniature area. I'm just picturing, because one of the games I'm in for Friday, every Friday, is my friend, he has everything on D&D Beyond, and the idea of having these really cool battles we have in this game be like these digital minis and stuff. I think he's gonna really enjoy making that, and I can't wait to make a little mini of my bard. I wanna have a fully customizable representation of him.
Okay, and so Theo, you've had some stuff you wanted to talk about, so feel free, talk about what you've been excited for. Your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as 1D&D goes, I really feel like people, if they're not already, they need to get prepared for the fact that this is not a big shift. This is not going to be a lot of big changes. If you go and download the new playtest for the races, you'll see that it's not that different. The main kind of things are changing for what I can see, or some stuff that they introduced here in Spelljammer, where backgrounds will get a feat, which is sort of reminds me a lot of your backgrounds in another game that starts with Path and ends in Finder, where they rely a lot more on feats, especially with your character creation. But I really don't think that D&D 5.5 or 1D&D is going to, in itself be that different in the rules. So it does have to be compatible with everything that came before it. And I think they've already started changing a lot of things in the most recent books. We call it the Netherdeep and Citadel, what was it called? Radiant Citadel and Spelljammer coming up in Dragonlance. They've already been making these changes. It's going to be an incremental thing. And it does seem like they're really focusing on making it feel more inclusive. And it might just be a lot more of how they're going to market it. It's more of a change in the marketing strategy and less in the actual mechanics. Which is all good. I was kind of more excited about some of the other stuff they announced today, including expanding. I won't go into too much, but expanding my favorite 5e adventure, which is the Lost Mine of Fendelver, into a full campaign. One of the things they announced, they're going to turn that into this whole full campaign. The Dragonlance books sound really cool. There's a lot of other stuff that they announced today outside of this one, and the video, certainly the first half of that video told a lot of what their goals are, but not necessarily how they're going to do it or what they're going to do. So it was a lot of kind of nothing. I appreciate the goals, and that's all great. But they didn't really tell us anything about what anything is. Yeah, it's just sort of like you said, corporate goal teaching.
Yeah, it's the corporate non-speak where they're saying a lot of words, but you're not really there's no information being gathered. It's just they're saying words. But gotta say, I'm reading through this PDF. I like this race and background change. Like the backgrounds are the ones that give you the stat bonus instead of the race. And they touched on my favorite race in 5e, the Tieflings. The Tieflings are pretty cool, I gotta say.
But I don't think it's a huge change. Like, I really don't think it's... I really want them to do for races what they do for Ancestries and Pathfinders, giving them their own dedicated feat trees. I think that's what... But I don't know if there's enough room in the 5e rule set to really have feat trees like that. Like, Pathfinder having that as many rules as they do gives you a bigger playground to play in when you're making magic items and spells and feats and skills. Like, 5e having this limited rule set, like, there's really only so much room you have to create things like that. And so I think that's kind of where it's limiting. But, like, to me in D&D right now, mechanically speaking, races don't feel different enough from each other. Like, you know, aside from one or two extra abilities and whether you have dark vision or not, like, your elf and your orc are not that different mechanically, especially now that stats are not really tied to races. I do think it's weird that I think languages are now tied to backgrounds. If I think what Grady was telling me is correct. So, like, all, like, the gladiators now speak Orcish or something, no matter where they're from or whatever. It's just, so there's some kind of odd things in there, perhaps. But Cam, what were you thinking? You have opinions.
Yeah, I do have opinions. I watched it earlier. I actually watched it before I hopped into the chat with Alex to talk about it. I thought it was just super funny because, one, I love the filming of it. They're just like, it's just epic music, and they're going around, and you could tell they're just going around the same table with the camera, and they're like, okay, roll these dice. Now roll these dice. It felt the music felt so out of place when they're rolling 2d6 or something like that. There wasn't like anyone being excited or anything. I thought that was super funny. It felt like a company that was like, hey, we got something in the works. It's more. We promise it's more, but it's not too much more. You're going to still be able to do the same stuff, but it's more, but not more than what, you know. It's not a new system. We promise it's not a new system. We're doing more. Oh yeah, we're also rewriting some of the books, but, you know, don't worry about it. You can still play the books. Like, it felt very directionless, and it felt like, as someone, I like the digital content. That was my favorite part of it, because I thought that's the stuff that I'm very excited for, and I'm also excited as well for the more options part. Like, we want to give them more options, because that's the one thing I dislike about 5e is your options are what level of class you take up for your build. But what I always wanted was, I wanted to be a wizard that had other stuff, you know, mixed in. I didn't want to sacrifice wizard levels to get a few more little interactions or just change it up. And that's why I always felt kind of bad, because if I wanted to have a more custom built wizard, I would be sacrificing wizard levels, and then I wouldn't be the best wizard I could be. I would be something that's a little less than a wizard and a little bit more of something else. And that's what I like about Pathfinder, because Pathfinder, whether you take archetype dedication feats to augment your build or not, the only thing you're sacrificing are some of the abilities you might not like or feat levels you don't like to get some other stuff, but you still in the end level up all the way through as the class that you initially picked, and you can still get that end class feel with your own customizations tossed on top. So I'm game for more options. I'm game for more digital included content, but a lot of that was just like, hey guys, it's gonna be a lot more. We can't really talk about what actually we're changing at all, and we're also going to be getting a lot of feedback from you guys to incrementally change things, so you all get to decide what it's going to be like. But we're not going to tell you exactly like the idea or the movement going forward, other than the fact that it's just more. It's like, you want roleplay? More roleplay. You want more options? More options. You want better art? Better art. It's like, I don't know. And I don't have the secrets that you do, Theo. So, you know, maybe you got a little bit more.
I would just say, I would just caution about getting, it's not a secret or anything that I have, but just, I think the nature of the 5e rule set and the decision they decided to go with that is to trade in the complexity of a rule set, make it simple, which makes it easier to play, but it limits the customizable options you have for your characters. Like your 10th level paladin is not going to look all that different from somebody else's 10th level paladin, and that's just because there's not as many rules to play around with. And if they are not fundamentally expanding the amount of rules that they have in this game, and so the playground side is going to be the same. And I think it limits the amount of new options and customizability that they're going to be able to add. So I just don't see how they can. I don't see how they're going to have a lot of options to make those player options that I know you want to see. And I hope I think going with feats is going to help. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun to customize. But I still think it's going to be very limited, especially compared to Pathfinder and Starfinder even. And that's just the nature of the beast. I think it's fine. It's just something that frustrates me too, and that's why we kind of jumped from D&D to Pathfinder. And it's nice that we have both options because, D&D is great for most people. Maybe they don't necessarily want to do deep dive builds like you do. Like some people love that, but other people are just going, man, I just want to do my little tiefling because they are cool and they're blue and I love them. And they don't necessarily care about making them, super efficient and thematic. So not everybody, that's my thoughts on it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I think that there is place enough for your casual tabletop and your in-depth, it's kind of like video games, This is what I tell a lot of people when I talk about, the way the industry is going and what I think the future of tabletop is. Tabletop games should be viewed more like video games. Yeah, you can love Fortnite or whatever, and you can also love playing Elder Scrolls, or you can love playing Fallout. You can like all three of these games, even though they're so vastly different in a lot of key ways, and still have fun with them. I love complex games, but I also love simple games that are just a lot of fun to play with. Cult of the Lamb was a recent fun one that I've been playing. Just because it's you play this cute little lamb guy, and then you have to sacrifice your followers sometimes, and it's really cute. It's not a very deep game. I was kind of disappointed with the lack of depth, but it was still a very fun game. The music is phenomenal, and the characters are kind of interesting, and I think that's fine. I don't know. With 5th edition, I also, as a GM, I feel like 5th edition is a really rough system once you really get into it, because there's just so many things that players could want to do that there's absolutely no rules for aiding you in doing that whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree that there's a lot in that system where the DM has to do it himself.
Yeah, that's the big thing with because reading through all of this, I just skimmed through the playtest, seeing all the cool stuff. I like these options. I think they're going to make for some really fun, just little extra bits of complexity. And I can't wait to see it and have my DM adopt some new stuff, have some new cool any sort of 3D stuff. But reading through the PDF, hopefully the way they're taking it is you actually get leveled feats, because what this DM does to make it a little more fun, it honestly doesn't even impact 5e's core rules too much, is he includes feats on certain levels. You get a feat, and then the next level you can get an ability score increase. So you actually end if say you get to level 20, you have 6 or 7 feats by the end of by up to level 20, and it just adds extra tools or proficiencies or ways to make your character a little more unique. And it functions perfectly in 5e. It is not broken anything. It is just extra options, horizontal leveling across the board with vertical leveling with 5e. So they're going to add more feat options. I'm into it. I do also like that the increases on races, because it does feel like they actually get unique tools now for being the race, rather than you're an elf, so you're an elf. You can see in the dark. Good for you. Yeah. They actually have unique stuff for each what's the word for it? Being a high elf, a drow, a wood elf, picking those stuff. The races. Yeah, the archetypes inside the race. If it just means that there's slightly more choice that you make in a 5e game, like I'm here for it. Also, I'm very easy to please. So if I just get some fun feats or like some fun more extra tools for my bard I'm playing, I'm completely into it.
You know,
I can sit tight and wait and see what we get.
A fascinating thing I've heard, because we play in a 5e game that I don't run actually, and someone else does, and he's been doing a lot with 5e.
Oh yeah, he's made it a really interesting like homebrew stuff for it.
A lot of people enjoy 5e for the way it is because they can homebrew it so easily because the rules are kind of scarce that they can just throw in whatever rules and there's rarely a conflict. And that's what a lot of people are like, I love D&D because there's not so much complexity. I can put whatever I want in the system and it works. And it's such a fascinating thought to me of like, I like this bare bones system because then I can add the meat to it as I see fit. And I think that's very cool in its own way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to see.
It's also just easy to sit and play.
That's true.
Like just sitting down and playing D&D, like I can bring anybody to my table and sit them down and play D&D without giving them, like handing them a die and a very basic character sheet, and anybody can play.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily true for Pathfinder.
I agree.
But like I brought folks to my table and it's amazing. I do know we have to wrap up soon. I thought you mentioned that you had some questions earlier. I didn't know if you had some from your fans that you wanted to address.
There was one. It was a question about minis earlier.
Yeah, I see right here.
Favorite.
It's what does the future of minis look like? It seems like many games are being played online now. Is it a 3D mini domain? Are we shifting to the world of 3D minis?
No, I don't think so. WizKids is coming out with more products than we can keep up with. Like their output has increased so much from the past. I think we may be seeing a move away from random booster boxes, like you just opened there, Cam. One thing that we noticed with the new Pathfinder battles set that just came out, instead of booster boxes, it's coming in set packs. So you can see exactly what you're getting. They're kind of themed around, like, here's one particular set of monsters, another particular set of monsters. We're also getting sets that are devoted to certain adventures. So, like, here's just, like, your set of creatures from Curse of Strahd. Here's the important NPCs you need from Curse of Strahd. So you know exactly what you're getting. It's all a set price. You can just get what you need. You don't have to worry about buying any random things and just hoping that you get the one you particularly want. They're also doing ones based on encounters now. And so, like, if there's just a big encounter in a particular adventure, you can buy that encounter that comes with, like, the maps. You know, this might be for, like, Cam, if you're doing these kind of things. You can get all the minis and the map for just that one encounter and these set pieces that you need. It's all in one little package, and you can get that for just those important encounters that you want to have that set for. And so they're changing the way they sell the minis, but I don't think we're seeing any kind of slowdown in the minis. The one thing that we have seen is an increase in prices. It feels like WizKids prices kind of went up more than inflation. And I think that has to do with, like, these are fairly bulky packages that they're having to ship from overseas. And so the shipping charges are just astronomical these days. The prices of WizKids minis has increased a lot. I have seen some indications that the prices are starting to come back down again. Some of the more recent stuff that we've gotten for them is, like, the prices are not as high as they were 6 months ago. So I'm hoping that we'll see, in that sense, prices come back down again. But, you know, we still have Pathfinder. I think we have a new Starfinder set coming out next year. Not officially announced, but minis aren't going away. People are still playing in person. I think people were craving that. And we certainly saw at the convention at Gen Con, you know, people getting together and playing there too and loving it. So that's my answer to that.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up too, because for, like, Warhammer, I know they've been being hit with price increases. Like, mix of both plastic shortage, that was a while, and it seems like they're being hit with a lot of really bad, like, manufacturing and shipping problems. I know, at least on their end, apparently the Games Workshop printers have kind of been on the fritz, so they haven't been able to send out books. It did take me a really long time, too, to get my a model kit I paid for a while ago. I don't know if that transfers over at all for, like, WizKids or anything. I just know that Games Workshop's been struggling with that right now.
We saw it with Paizo, too. They were having a lot of their adventure books being held up. The last book in the Strength of Thousands Adventure Path came out, like, 2 months late, which is a little irritating for those folks who are really wanting to see how that adventure ended. So, like, just all around, shipping, manufacturing, now that we're in the manufacturing biz ourselves at the Gallant Goblin, making our plushies, like, we are well aware of how expensive and difficult things are getting, and it doesn't seem to be getting necessarily a lot better yet, but hopefully we're starting to see some of the breakthroughs. We just have to hang in there and weather this storm, and it might be a good time to play online because while things are expensive, but
true,
you can still find some older stuff on sale for original prices. So as long as you don't need the new hotness, you can get some good minis out there.
That's fair, and I think maybe we'll bring you back on after your Kickstarter really like finishes and you start sending out stuff out, so we can kind of get some info on like that. I'm sure a lot of people out there are very curious about like how that all works and all that kind of stuff, and that'd be something I'd definitely love to talk about. And I guess my final say on like the minis thing, people I think fail to understand that the people who love these games are nerds and will collect stuff regardless of whether they're actually going to use it or not. In so many ways, I've not really run a 5e game in, I don't know, 2-3 years, something like that. We still own all the books, including books that came out this year. So, like, we just have them, and it makes the shelves look nice. People love. I like this Dragon Turtle. Like, I just keep picking up. It's like nice and hefty, and it feels good. It looks good. You know, people love the kinetic stuff of owning actual like nerd stuff and decorating their houses with it. I don't think it'll ever go away, even if it all goes to like online. People still buy dice. I know people, we play online exclusively almost. They still buy themselves tons of dice. They're like, look at my new dice that I'll never get to roll. So
yeah.
You know.
To that end too, I can add a conversation that we overheard from some distributors at Gen Con. Exactly what you're saying. That one thing to keep in mind too is that we probably have a recession coming on here, and sometimes people will stop spending as much. But one thing they continue to usually spend on are their hobbies that they love. Like those seem to be a little bit more recession proof. And tabletop gaming, in the scheme of things, is one of the lesser expensive hobbies that people can have. Compared to things like scuba diving, there's a lot of other like hobbies that are out there that are a lot more expensive to maintain than tabletop gaming, where you buy a couple of books, a couple of minis. You don't necessarily need everything. Yeah, and so they don't expect the upcoming recession or inflation to necessarily hit the tabletop industry as hard as it might hit some other ones, like the car industry, etc. So so that's something to keep in mind. That's from the distributors who know what they're talking about. That we were eavesdropping on, because we know which conversations to stand behind.
Yeah, fair. That was all of my PaizoCon. I can't wait for the next PaizoCon to get more secrets.
I also
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I want to attend the next PaizoCon. I'm going to be there. Like, I'll actually plan to attend, because like all the stories of Cam like going around talking to those cool people, I was like, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, that was really great.
But we come a little bit towards the end here. We went a little past our initial date. We did start a little late though.
It's true. Apologies.
No worries. We can compromise with 5 minutes. 5 minutes less for 5 minutes over, I think, is fair enough. Mm-hmm. But thank you so much for coming on, talking. You've been such a pleasure to talk to in the chat. And I really wish we will probably have to have you on at some point again in the future, because I think there's a lot of questions here that we really just didn't get to address. And also, you guys are doing lots of really cool things. Congratulations again on the NE for the written material. And
thank you.
Hopefully next time we get you on, it's not during a period of just running around crazy because stuff is happening. It is
always that. It is always running around crazy for us. What with plushies and writing projects and Pathfinder and the video and Grady's full-time job. But hopefully it won't be health-related stuff.
Hopefully. And hopefully you'll be actually home next time as well.
With a video instead of this like laptop that's shaking around on my lap.
No worries.
And I'll have a real microphone instead of my AirPods.
Yeah, it wasn't even that bad though, honestly. I think it was pretty good overall. And I'm sure a lot of people who are interested in minis will come by, even though we only talked for minis for maybe about like 10 minutes.
Or even next time we talk, I'll have minis to show. I have no minis.
That would be cool.
In my room here.
Yeah, it's luckily Table Talk's a very like casual. This is a chill chat between either like us and chat or like whoever we have on.
I was lucky to even have some books handy that I could hold up as visual references, just because I happened to bring them because I wanted to read them on my trip.
To be fair, those were really beautiful books to hold up.
Oh yeah,
they're gorgeous. But yeah, guys, thank you all so much for having me too. It was an absolute pleasure. Happy to come back anytime. It was a ton of fun. And yeah, when you get a bunch of nerds in a room, there's always a lot of things to talk about. We could just sit here all day. So true. I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things we also want to do here is, I feel like there's not enough interconnectivity between content creators in the tabletop space. I don't see it all that often. So what we want to do is we definitely want to do more of that. And we have some project ideas in the future that we want to do, these little interviews. Even though this is not an interview channel, we don't want to like do a lot of podcasts about interviews or all that kind of stuff. I do feel like connecting to other people in the space is important. And I feel like it's not done enough, at least in a way that the audience can see it or the YouTube scene can really see it.
Discord communities is kind of, I think, the way most of them communicate.
Discord, or it's like you go to conventions and you meet everyone there and everything like that. But on YouTube, you don't get to see content creators actually coming together and having fun together doing tabletop stuff. So, in the future, I'd like to do more of that, and especially talking with you guys. I talked to you guys in person, and doing this has been a lot of fun. And you guys have a bit more crossover with D&D than we do here, and the mini scene, which I definitely have very little experience with. So, I think it's very enriching for the community to have a lot more of that as well. So
yeah, for sure.
Definitely try to have you on again at some point in the future. Hopefully you'll be home, and hopefully there'll be a little less stress for me included, because I got like 3 videos to do today. I recorded.
Yeah, I got another one to film.
Streamed. Yeah, so
we're doing our unboxing next.
Even after this too, I have a thing I'm prepping for. I have a cool little project in the works that I'm starting production today.
So yeah, we got a lot of stuff. So with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and say goodbye. Was there anything else you wanted to plug for yourself today before we head out?
No, you can just find me at Gallant Goblin on YouTube, Gallant Goblin on Twitter, and The Gallant Goblin on Facebook and Instagram. We have a nice Discord server with a fun community. You have your own Discord server, obviously, too. But if you want to come and talk about minis in particular, probably mine's a good one to hang out at. But yeah, it's just a pleasure to be here. And our kobolds are at koboldplush.com if you want to see some customizable D&D style kobold plushies to give to your little ones or yourself if you like cuddly things like I do.
They're very adorable. All right.
Thank you very
Let's
much.
go ahead and say goodnight, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.